Coming to you from the Endless Library, where every book is read and every spoiler discussed. Join us as we dig into the lives of fictional people who cannot defend themselves. This is the SideQuest Podcast.
Welcome back to SideQuest. We are reading Red Seas Under Red Skies, chapters 4 through 7 today, finishing up part 1. Let's get into it. Slava, take us away.
Okay, let me get to the thing.
Slava, always showing up prepared. It's like you've never sailed at sea before.
I have sailed at sea twice in my life.
I don't believe you. Did you know all the sailing terms?
I know the one.
Clearly, as we can all see.
No, what is it? Port and not. The hell's the back called? Now, of course,
Stern.
Stern. The port and the stern.
The bow and the stern?
The bow and the stern. What's the port? Port is a place where they hang out, ships.
What's larboard?
The right side.
No.
If you're looking at port. I mean, if you're looking at bow.
No. Larboard is left. Starboard is right.
That's what I meant.
Slava is clearly going to get us killed on this adventure. Maybe you really are, Locke. Not knowing your gibbets from your razors.
That and not knowing apparently bow from starboard or larboard from stern.
That's true. Very true.
By chapter 4, Locke and Jean consult a poisoner who warns she can't help without knowing the exact poison. Random antidotes could kill them faster. Their only real chance is contacting the Bonds Magi, who might have a cure. Obviously, Jean and Locke refuse. She tells them...
I thought they were going to say yes.
Well, obviously, because they have such a good relationship. They
good
made friends with that guy.
Yeah,
they made good friends with that guy from, the first book.
Kamor.
Yeah. He had a bird and everything. They had fun together.
Nice bird.
Nice bird asshole. So she tells them, since they're reticent for reasons unknown, to reach out to the Bonds Mage, she tells them that their best hope is to stay useful to their poisoner and pray for a lucky break. Something you always want to hear when you're consulting a doctor.
The best. Yeah, I can't actually do anything for you, but don't piss off the person who poisoned you.
As they leave, Locke and Jean are very aware that they are being watched and followed, although they don't think it is by either the Bonds Magi or the agents of the Archon. They wait about 3 nights before returning to the Sinspire. When they get there, Locke and Jean hear a commotion and learn there's a cage spectacle. Pushing through the crowd, they see a sparrow-sized stiletto wasp hovering in a cage, and a gauntlet-wearing man is about to fight it, and multiple wasps wait in connected cages around the room. This is a fun scene. There's more world building done by Lynch here,
and
you learn of these wasps that are bird-sized that you could fight.
Which is terrifying, by the way. If a pigeon-sized, because pigeons are like I'd call them like a medium small, right? A pigeon-sized bird that's a hornet or a bee, get the hell out of here. No way. I'm not. And it was like 120 of them or something?
100 of them, yeah.
100?
Yeah. I think about 100.
And they get pissed off, which makes them more aggressive? Yeah.
Oh, no, 121. 121.
Okay, I was right. It was like 120.
When you said 200, you were totally on right because it's 120.
I did not say 200.
Roll back the tape. What did you say?
Roll back the tape. Roll it. All right, so, yeah, 120, and they get aggressive after. Oh, yeah. No. But also, to your point, brilliant world building. That's one of the things that I've been thinking about in terms of the book here is the world building that Lynch does. And I've been trying to put my finger on why it feels so real. And the things that I've come up with, and you add to this list if you got anything that I missed, is the characters feel dynamic. They're forced to grow. They are forced to engage in circumstances they did not plan for. Lynch purposefully puts in stuff that throws things out of left field. His storytelling style is such a way that it feels like a movie, like we've mentioned before. The world building part of it that you're talking about right now, where it's like, here's a unique thing that feels real because people aren't batting an eye at it, and it's lines up with the context of book 2 here, where they're in the Synspire, where it's all gambling, and this is just like a cruel way to gamble, like this man might die, and he's under the thumb of criminals. Like, all of it works together to feel like a real world.
Exactly. Scott could have taken us from the Poisoner to Requin's office. Instead, between those two events, Locke meets up with Madame Durena at the Synspire. We see this guy about to fight 121 Wasps. We get a little bit back and forth between them. We have a little bit of Locke later on when he comes back to this scene, feeling sorry for the man. We have him talking to Selendri, and then he tries to endear himself to Selendri, but she tells him to stop and don't try. He apologizes for any offense. Selendri coldly replies that there's nothing to undo. She simply doesn't trust anyone because trust invites betrayal, and she won't allow that. So we have a little bit of a build-out of her character because we know what happened to her. So we understand why she is distrustful, and we understand why she's so committed to Requin. This builds out the character. We see more of Locke here. As they arrive to the office, he tells her that she's the bravest woman he's ever met. And internally, he's like, okay, how do I win her over? What can I say to get her on my side? And she just pushes him out. Again, he wonders if the words might have planted a seed. And I don't think Locke is being altruistic here. He's being Locke. But the point here is, from the Wasps to his little chat with Selendri, more of the world, more of the characters are being built out. And it's an easy read. As you're going through this, it's like watching a movie.
Yeah, and we start to see from each of the characters, like Selendri wants to serve Requin, that's her desire and want. Requin wants to get information from Jean and Locke and keep them under his thumb and help Locke, kill Jean and become a card shark, basically. And then Dragos wants to send them out to sea so that he can solidify his seat of power. Each character wanting their own thing, and I've complained about this in other books. By us knowing what they want, it humanizes them, because you and I don't want the same thing. My other friends and I, Spencer, who will be on, the final episode for the guest here, he and I don't want the same thing. But we both are friends and we both have things we can talk about. But that makes us human. Right? So humanizing the characters makes the book feel real.
And out of a lot of books that I read, and the many that we read together, we already fanboyed out about Sanderson enough. He does this well too. But here, it's a lot more fast-paced than a Sanderson book, minus the Sanderlanches. Even though it's so fast-paced and there's plot lines and subplot lines and other stories coming in, it's done well. You're not lost. I'm not confused in chapter 10. I've been guided by Lynch so well up until everything that happens from epilogue to that particular chapter is connected. And yes, there's betrayals and twists and turns, but everything makes sense. Everything is realistic to the world that Lynch has built. And the growth of the characters are realistic to the characters that we meet in Lies of Locke Lamora. So you meet him now 2-3 years later, and Locke is who he is. You recognize him. But you start seeing growth, and we'll talk about that as the chapters go on. You start seeing growth, but you also are with a familiar person that is well developed from a from a literary perspective.
100%.
So now we are in Requin's office. Requin greets Locke, noting how busy he has been over the past few years. He brings up Jean's visit to Mistress Galadriel over a year ago. Locke admits it, claiming he told Jean about her after overhearing someone in a bar mention her connection to Requin's vault. Requin presses further, mentioning Locke's conversations at the docks. Locke confirms he inquired about shipping, but says he and Jean ultimately decided to use someone from outside the city. Requin also notes Locke's dealings with Alchemist. Locke doesn't try to deny it. He says he was experimenting with explosives and secondhand mechanisms, just exploring ideas. Everything seems routine until Requin tells him he knows about Locke's secret meeting with Maximilian Dragos 3 nights ago. Selendri, being Selendri, approaches, ready to kill. Locke stays calm and spins a story. And I love this. This was really quick thinking on Locke's part. Dragos is the one who hired him to rob Requin's vault. He claims Dragos finally revealed himself, thinking Locke and Jean wouldn't survive after doing his bidding. When Selendri asks why they'd stay loyal, Locke explains they were poisoned and need regular antidote doses. Requin, though skeptical, admits the story fits. And then we have a little bit of Requin explaining how the Priori control Archon, Dragos. He holds the power through his army, and we get this more of the world building, this dynamic that unfolds, which helps Locke play both sides, really. Mm-hmm. Requin asks if Locke would have come to him if Dragos had revealed himself earlier. Locke admits he might not have. He insists he dislikes Dragos and wants out, which is like 90% true. Requin offers Locke a position. He can join him and eventually kill Jean, but only after Dragos is dead. Locke asks how he's supposed to pull that off. Requin says he won't need to. Just follow orders and he'll earn his job as the floor boss. Oh, and the money in Locke's account? Gone. Requin says he's not a charity, and because he's cheated, not only the Synspire, but cheated death, which is a consequence of cheating the Synspire, all the money he's won illicitly is now Requin's, which is fair, because screw you, Locke. You want to live?
Right.
Here's what we have.
Oh, man.
After some more talk, Locke returns to the second floor just in time to see the boy in the cage overwhelmed and killed by the pigeon-sized wasps. Madame Durena, pleased with her bet, asks when they'll play Carousel Hazard next. Locke says soon, but right now politics come first. He approaches the cage where the boy's body lies and pours out his drink in silent tribute. I thought that was an interesting scene. Locke seems to be more compassionate in this book. I think the death of his friends sort of struck a chord or awakened something in Locke. Because he's upset about the duel. He's upset about this guy being killed. He is almost taken on his priestly role here. I think he even says a prayer. He was upset at the death of the young man in the duel a few chapters ago. He's upset at the death of this young man here. He takes on his priestly role in some fashion here, and then in full fashion when he is burying the people on the poisoned orchid. So we see more compassion from Locke.
To interrupt you real quick, one of the things that I also love about the world building that I honestly should have mentioned earlier, and I even texted you about this week, was the fact that Lynch puts in his books this pantheon that is accepted and well known in the world. Locke is a priest of the 13th, which is a god that people don't believe in. The priest itself, or the priesthood itself, has 2 codes to follow. There's a word for it that they use in the book that I can't remember. It's thieves prosper and the rich remember. It's very simple, but very open, which allows Lynch a lot of play in what he guides Locke and Jean to do in their scheming and things like that. There's no culture that exists that I'm aware of that has no religion. So like adding that in and having them be a part of it is, again, another like layer of world building that he didn't have to explain that to us in book 1. We just know that there's a pantheon. They are using the pantheon as a ruse, and that's part of like their shtick. Now in this book, he's revealing a little bit more in the world building, and so he's pulling it back layer by layer without having to give us info dumps, which is what younger, immature authors do. So Anyway, back to you regarding Locke and his priestly activities with the pigeon-sized birds, but just wanted to interject real quick because I really love when they add the thoughtfulness and levels of complexity to their worlds.
It makes for a more enjoyable read. You're more immersed in the
100%.
story.
It feels real.
For me, whether it's a short story, it's a 1-page short story, or a 10-page short story, or a 500-page book like this, if an author can craft an immersive experience where you're like, oh, wow, you're on a train and there's a monster and you hear noises. I'm just making something up real quick. And you hear noises and you're creeped out by the ambience of the story. That's cool. Where you're here and there's this full world being unfolded, right? Your eyes are exposed to, or your ears are exposed to this world, and there's these religions and they have codes. That all makes for an immersive experience. But as we move on, they leave the Sinspire. As they're walking, a beggar asks Locke for a coin. He gives her 3, but quickly grows suspicious, as she has ignored other people on the dock. As she reaches out, Jean yanks Locke back just as a crossbow bolt flies past them. The woman drops her act, revealing herself as a footboxer. Jean engages her, while Locke fights off a second attacker, disguised as a beggar, killing him with a blade. Locke joins Jean in battling the woman, and together they take her down. Jean threatens her for answers, but a crossbow suddenly kills her. The shooter is Marion, the Arkan's agent. She shows them the dead woman's poison blade and says she likely saved one of their lives. Introducing herself, she tells them to leave quickly and meet her employer on a boat that evening. He has a task for them. A question for you, Jonathan. Who do you think is the lesser of two evils, Requin or Dragos?
It depends on where you're standing.
In world
I know.
evaluation.
Yeah. Who's the lesser of two evils?
However you want to dissect that.
That's a good question. So having kind of autonomy of your own section of the city, like the Sinspire and the Golden Steps, that's a unique power in and of itself. However, Dragos, who, is basically chancellor of the city, if you will, to just say it another way, has the opportunity to recapture his hierarchical seat with the Sinspire falling underneath him instead of outside of his control. I guess based on those two facts, I'd say that Dragos is more of a big bad evil guy for Tel Varar as a whole than Requin is, even though Requin has been reigning for so long. That'd be my take.
I'd agree with that. Requin, his desire is to make money, to have fun, to do what he does best, run this Sinspire. To the extent that that's made possible lies certain privileges that he has and that he's built up himself and has defended and defended well. And because he provides a certain service that the poor and the rich love alike and people in power alike, that affords him certain privileges and freedoms to do whatever the hell he does. And he won't go farther than whatever the line is for him, and there is one. In world, he won't go past that because when he does, no matter how much power he has, it will start, waning and his world will start falling apart. Dragos, on the other end, is a political Machiavellian monster.
Oh, yeah.
So he is definitely the bigger bad guy because he has more at his disposal. And despite Requin being cruel to cheaters and cruel to the guy who tried to assassinate him, which is understandable. You try to poison me, you try to poison my girl, I will make you die slowly for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And the fact that Requin was like, all right, you cheated, you die. Oh, you are useful? Okay, you're useful, let's go. But there's rules still in place for Locke. Here, Locke doesn't do anything to Dragos. The Bonds Magi give Dragos pretty much free chicken to do whatever he likes to do with Locke, he's okay with doing their bidding because now he can set in place this bigger plan, which is to start a war, to do a false flag in order to take back, like what, a couple of ounces of strength or political hold?
It's not a couple ounces. He's standing on a house of cards at the moment, where the rich have forgotten, if I can summarize the opposite of what Lynch teaches us about the Crooked Warden, because they don't think that they need him anymore. They're not listening as much. And so
That's more ego than anything. But he still has his army and navy and position and power and money. They're just not begging at his feet to save them.
Which is where the Machiavellian part comes in. And I just want to interject real quick for anyone who is unfamiliar. Machiavellian means someone who's strategic and calculating and manipulative, using whatever they need to achieve power or advantage. And this is based on Niccolo Machiavelli from the 16th century in his book, The Prince. He was an Italian political philosopher. Maybe you've heard it in the world, maybe you haven't, but just to keep you on the same page, the end justifies the means in Machiavelli's book.
If I'm being honest, maybe this betrays my mindset. I don't really consider Requin that bad of a bad guy.
He's just like a step above what Father Chains was. Instead of having his own temple, he had a section of the city. Right? That's it. He's like certainly a step up because he has his own gambling den, but in the scope of things, it's not really that crazy. But I will give props, and I think I did this last episode, so I'm going to keep doing it. Lynch keeps us in a localized geographical place so that we don't get confused, which is so helpful as the reader. Like, even though we're traveling a bit, we stay at the Golden Steps and the Sinspire for a while. Then we go out to sea, we stay there. And so it's very distinct things as opposed to like, they went to the Red Inn and then they went to Rory's Mountains. And you're like, everything is named the same, or like the letters are the same, like I've talked about in previous shows, where you get confused. And for the most part, he helps the naming construction to be unique enough where you don't struggle with the confusion, which I appreciate. I have a favor to ask you. If you like what we're doing, the simplest way to support the show is to hit subscribe. In return, we'll keep leveling up, we'll listen to your feedback, and read authors that you suggest. And of course, we'll take side quests along the way.
This brings us to Chapter 4's Reminiscence. We are a year into their arrival, Locke and Jean's, to Tel Aviv. Locke, posing as a merchant Fairwright, travels north to Salon Corbeil, a luxury coastal city under Mount Azar, to commission custom chairs needed for their Sinspire heist. Despite its beauty and wealth, Locke notices a steady flow of poor arriving alongside the elite. He hires Master Baumondane, I think that's how you say it, to craft 4 ornate chairs from delicate wood. They go bantering back and forth and bartering how fast he can make it. While there, though, Locke learns about the city's disturbing centerpiece, the amusement war. In this brutal game, poor people serve as live chess pieces in a coliseum. When taken, they suffer humiliations or violence, sold as defaults to the spectators. Locke is horrified, especially when he hears stories like gentled kittens being gifted to bored noble boys for killing practice. While he's waiting for the chairs, Locke visits the arena again, revolted but unable to look away. A baron mocks his discomfort, defending the spectacle as voluntary and almost charity. Locke masks his anger, but fantasizes about ruining the man. Then he leaves. And a few days later, the chairs are finished. Locke praises the craftsmanship, and he's eager to leave. He can't stand to remain in the city much longer, having seen the rich dehumanize the poor for sport.
Did you think that Locke was this compassionate?
No. I'm telling you, there is something that's awakened in Locke, because he talks about retirement all of a sudden in this book. He talks disparagingly about the duel that I mentioned. He is moved by the death of the young boy with the Wasps, and here he is torn by what he sees. I think he would have seen this in Locke in the previous book, but I don't think he would have been moved to such a degree. He might have been revolted by it and saying, look, the rich are pieces of garbage, look what they do, but he wouldn't have had this moral outrage that he has in this book.
Yeah. I think that you're onto something with the death of his friends stirring up and almost loosening the numbness that I think he probably created in all of the stuff that he got into with Kamor.
Yes, he's now removed from Kamor. Everything he knew and everything that he used to build a wall around himself and numb himself is gone. And he's facing the world with just him and Jean. And he's able to see all this with fresh eyes. And so I think some of the normal human tendencies to show compassion, even if you're Locke, are starting to come out. They're starting to become more evident.
Very much so.
And it's really a horrible sport. It's
not
horrific.
Great. It's not great.
But we are now brought into Chapter 5. Locke, Jean, and Marion return to Dragos Fortress and explain how Marion saved them from assassins. Dragos dismisses Requin as the source. If it were him, they'd be dead already, and suspects another vendetta. He orders Marion to inspect the bodies for tattoos, and in her presence refers to Locke as Costa, suggesting he doesn't trust her fully. Here's another thing about Dragos being the batter of the bad guys. Requin has a loyal number 2. It seems whatever's happening between Salandri and Requin, or whatever happened, I should say, they have been bonded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here, Dragos also has a number 2, but he's not entirely trustful of her because she's probably bought. She's not there because they have
totally
a history together. She's there for a paycheck. So, anyway, that point aside, Dragos introduces his alchemist, the one who created the poison, keeping Locke and Jean in line. The alchemist confirms he has all 44 people ready for relocation. Once gone, Dragos suggests the assassins may be tied to Kamor. He insists on tighter restrictions, angering Locke and Jean, but reminds them that killing him would mean their own deaths. Finally, he reveals his plan. He wants them to ignite a pirate uprising, giving him the excuse to rebuild his navy and reclaim political power. He'll supply antidote doses every 2 months when they return to port. Locke questions how they will convince the pirates to rebel, and Dragos says they'll do it by becoming pirates themselves and causing enough chaos to scare the merchants and force the Priori's hand. And then he takes them to a mechanical river garden, showcasing Storm, controlled by hidden machinery.
That was cool.
That was cool, but this is Dragos showing off.
100%, but still cool.
And he says he wants Televar to rise above the Bonds Magi using artifice and engineering, not magic. Locke and Jean remain skeptical, but listen as he frames the plan as part of a larger battle against the Carthathians' influence. Dragos ends by saying they'll begin training soon and must delay their Requin heist. Dragos wants to rise above what the Bonds Magi are using or have, whatever magic that is. He wants to use engineering, not magic specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that there is less to the Bonds Magi powers than people might think? Because a guy like Dragos would know the extent of the Bonds Magi powers and capabilities beyond what Locke and Jean might know. Does he know something we don't as the readers?
I think it's just what he told us, and I can't remember if I told you on screen or off screen last episode about this, but I think that this is a tip of Lynch's hand that could be where we get to in book 7. Just a reminder for the audience, we only have 3 books. This is book 2. Lynch has book 4 written. He also has 2 novellas written. But by Dragos saying that the only way to overcome the Magi is through artificing, so like mechanics and technology, by Lynch saying that, I would not be surprised if in book 7 or 6, Jean and Locke have to take out the Bonds Magi, and the only way to do that is actually through artificing, because Dragos says you can't fight Bonds Magi with Bonds Magi. It doesn't work. This is such a grandiose scene. I wouldn't even be surprised if Dragos came back in a different book, resurfaced in some way. Maybe not full character, but something.
I think you mentioned that both on and off air to some degree. I kind of wanted to bring that out again.
100%.
Now, we are at the final reminiscence of the book. 6 months after Salon Corbeil, Locke and Jean store their custom chairs and head north to Tel Avar to test a rope system off a 100-foot cliff. While descending, they reflect on Sabitha, Locke recalling how he used to admire her climbing.
Okay.
Dude, this guy is hard up.
I've talked about this in other books. This is not my greatest moment. But and you were there for some of this, I lived that.
Yeah, I know,
that
brother.
That mindset, right? Like, you lost the gal who's the white whale, like, forever lost but never forgotten, can't move on with your life.
Totally. I saw it. I lived it. I was with you on the subway. We were in a subway, I think, and you were pouring out your heart. And you are Locke and I am Jean at that moment in our lives.
Look, it's not my proudest moment, but like, people go through this stuff, and they have the friends like Jean who are like, can you just stop? And we see this a couple times. He has it here, and then a little later in the book where Jean just deals with it here, but later in the book, Jean's like, hey, the rest of us didn't stop living our lives because you're some sort of prude who can't get over himself. He says it much more eloquently, like Lynch does, but
yeah.
You need those friends who are going to go, stop. And the opening of the book, I just love the line, the one line where he's like, you're grieving like the man who believes that he invented grief, and you're not that goddamn special.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
2 friends who've lived through hell, both in upbringing and losing their own friends, that they are willing to be deeply honest with each other. And I would say that that's another piece of the attraction to these books is we all say that we want honesty, but then when someone's honest with you, it doesn't feel good. But when we see it happen with 2 characters, we're drawn to that vulnerability. Anyway, that's my little side quest there.
Side quest accepted.
Wow. I didn't know that we had a policy for that. Did I fill out the right forms?
You did.
Okay.
We worship the 14th god on this podcast, which is the god of side quests.
Yes. Okay. The not the unnamed god, the forgotten god.
The forgotten god of side quests. Yep.
Yes.
So as Locke is reminiscing and admiring the climbing attributes or whims of Sabitha, whatever the right word for it is, a bandit appears at the top of the cliff. This is such a funny scene. I was laughing.
It's so great.
It's such a movie cartoon scene, right? He knocks out their driver. He's searching their coats, and now he plans to cut their ropes to steal their purses from their bodies. And Jean tricks him into looking over the edge. Again, cartoonish, but in the goodest way possible. I know that's not a word. Throws a weapon at him, thinking he was going to kill him. But to add to the humor of the scene, the hilt hits him.
Yep.
And so he doesn't knock him out, but he gives them a chance to climb back up. And they're about to kill him, and he's begging for his life. And the bandit hears Locke explain that as a priest of the Crook and Warden, he believes that thieves prosper. So he's not going to kill a fellow thief. And then John climbs up and hauls them both to safety. Or that probably happened in reverse. But whatever. This guy is the luckiest guy in the world who have crossed Locke and Jean and didn't get stabbed in the throat. Before leaving, though, Locke tosses the man his purse and tells him to remember this mercy. He might return one day to call in a favor. Okay, Godfather. Vito Corleone over here. Vito Locke Lamora. Or Vito Lamora. There, I got the joke out. Look at us.
You got the joke out. That's great. The crowd is laughing. Probably not.
Nobody laughs at my jokes except me. Yeah, maybe like 2 of the audience. You don't even laugh at my jokes.
Sorry, were you making a joke?
No.
That's
Maybe.
right. No.
So that's it, man. That is it for all the reminiscence. And now we come into, we come into the rest of the story. Because we're going back and forth, and Lynch, through these reminiscences, was setting up how Locke and Jean got to where they are. And now the real fun starts.
That's true. This is another one of those moments that I forgot to bring up earlier, is the planning. Like, Locke is brilliant. He just is. The 2-year planning, the flashbacks of, hey, we're going to plant these seeds, and then we're going to reveal that we were doing these things, so that when it's looked into, it's like, oh yeah, someone did come here, X amount of time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point where Jean is like trying to coerce the safe builder, the Artificers Guild, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Even to the point where Jean goes to the artificer who built Requin's vault.
Yeah, the Madame Vaultsmith or whatever. She has a name, but
she has a name, as we all do. Except for Locke, which, just reminding everyone, we don't know Locke's real name.
Slava.
That is not it. But
Slava Corleone.
Nope. You're just speaking of your delusions of grandeur.
My Machiavellian delusions of...
Should we read the prince on here? Is that what you want to do?
No, we should just have that as the bylaws for the podcast.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So be it. That's not what we should do. But we see, again, Locke is showing some mercy towards Thieves Prosper. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think in the book that Lynch is actually giving he's like, as the god, creating this story, Lynch, that he is giving them favor through the Crooked Warden as Locke is doing these things? So like when Locke does stuff, he then like gives him a nudge in the right direction later that is attributed to the Crooked Warden. Does that question make sense?
I need you to say it again.
Yeah, that's fair. So is Locke receiving divine favor from the Crooked Warden through Lynch because of his responses to taking care of thieves and making the rich remember?
I wouldn't be surprised or opposed to that kind of in-world revelation. I think that'd be kind of cool. I think even if we strip some of the ethereal, supernatural things from that, where it's literally in-world, a god is showing favor to a worshiper, maybe because Locke is now, I don't want to say living his true self because, God, that is vomit-inducing, but following the orders more, following the code that has been set in place, and therefore, because he's doing the right things, quote-unquote, things fall in place. I can buy that. Either way, it's a book. I'm not going to, make a big deal about it, whether it's a supernatural thing, really, there's a god doing this, or Locke following the codes helps him succeed because he's now not bouncing around like a lost little puppy, not knowing what he's doing, but he's coming into his own as a warden or as a priest of the Crooked Warden, excuse me. Things are now starting to make more sense, and he's able to make the right decisions. Either way, I'm good. But I think you bring up an interesting point. Maybe that's revealed later on.
I think that he is, and I also think that there's a very subtle undertone because of the Bonds Magi and the Spirit Realm in this book. It's super subtle because in this book we focus on both the Crooked Warden because we're following Jean and Locke, and then also Yono, who is the god of the sea, the grasping waters, and we see them doing their rituals. I think that Lynch actually does put nudges in those directions. Maybe it's subconsciously, but it feels that way to me going through this as a reread. It's also possible that I just have a bias that I think that it adds to the world building if it is happening. Like, I'm open to that being the case as well.
Well, we'll see when he writes books 4, 5, 6, and 7. Maybe they'll come out at the same time that the third book of, what's that guy's name that we read? Wind of Truth, or Name of the Wind. Whatever the hell we're reading.
Those are both books from different authors, but I think
There
that
you go.
meant Patrick Rothfuss.
Patrick
with
Rothfuss.
Doors of Stone
Yes.
in the series Name of the Wind.
There we go.
In the series uh, um, King Killer Chronicles.
Yes.
Well, you made it this far.
Why not go a step further?
Rate the show.
It helps more than you think. So, after that little adventure, we are back, as I've just said, in the real world, real time, and we're in Chapter 6. So, Jean and Locke are debating the assassination attempt, and they suspect a third party. Unrelated to Requin, Dragos, or the Bonds Magi, they ponder who the possible suspects might be. Marion delivers them a note telling them to meet her where they first met, or were first kidnapped, but, semantics.
Same.
There, they are given matching dark clothes and taken via carriage and boat to the Sword Marina. Caldris, I love Caldris, a veteran sailor forced by Dragos via poison, so Dragos is not the most, he has a one-track mind when it comes to getting people to do what he wants them to do, not very creative.
Machiavellian.
And so he's forced by Dragos via poison to train them, and so begins their brutal nautical education. Locke and Jean are introduced to basic seamanship and superstitious customs, like taking a cat on board a ship.
Deeply important.
And I thought that was a funny, lighthearted part of the story building where a ship needs a cat. And then Locke liking that cat and keeps telling him, I'm not liking you. Stop. You're not going to be bonded to me. I hate cats.
It's all fun and games until they're in the middle of a storm and Yono is upset.
Well, that too happens. Then back in Televar, Locke insists on seeing Requin. Marion resists, but eventually agrees. Locke presents the ornate chairs as a gift. Requin, impressed, accepts, and is told a cover story. Locke is after a master logbreaker. Selendri says if Locke finds this quote-unquote logbreaker, he must be brought to the Sinspire first. Later on, training intensifies. They're sailing all day, studying at night, and learning naval customs in between. Caldris notices their progress. Eventually, they're assigned a small ship, the Red Messenger. Marion reveals it was confiscated from a smuggler, and it will be their test vessel. Later, at a bar, a young woman collapses after drinking Locke and Jean's wine, clearly poisoned. A tense scene unfolds, and Locke and Jean deduce the priori might be behind the attempt. Fleeing the scene, they are ambushed by a man claiming to be Marion's ally. They decide to lay low at the Sword Marina. Caldris is shocked at how fast they are learning. Locke admits they're professional pretenders. Marion returns, saying tomorrow they shall sail with her and Dragos and finally meet their crew.
Meet their crew is a kind way to put what actually happens.
Well, yes, they take a bunch of prisoners.
If by meet your crew you mean break them out of prison, then yeah, meet their crew.
Break them out of their prison and give them an option to not be in prison anymore.
Yep.
And be sailors.
Yep.
And be part of a grand political scheme to overthrow a political imbalanced, if we're going to use Dragos' word for it. Yeah, they meet their crew. I omitted some things. I omitted a couple paragraphs of shenanigans.
A couple paragraphs, yes, of course.
Who do you think, at this point you're reading, this is your first-time reader, who do you really think the assassins here are?
I mean, the priori seems as good a bad guy as any. There's not enough evidence. It could be Dragos putting pressure on them.
Could be.
Where it's like, oh, if you stick with me, I'll keep you alive.
Do you think it could be, forgetting what you might know or do know, if you're in here for the first time in these pages, do you think the Bonds Magi playing a third hand?
No, the Bonds Magi are not going to do this because they have control over everything. There's no way. Not happening.
Sounds good. Chapter 7. Locke, Jean, Marion, and Dragos sail past Windward Rock, a prison. Dragos explains the setup. Locke will assume the identity of Ravel, a false traitor Dragos has planted rumors about. Inside, There are 44 mistreated prisoners who will become Locke's crew, desperate men who will see Ravel as their savior. At the prison, Locke and Jean bluff their way in with forged papers. Once inside, they do not incapacitate. Wow.
That'd be great.
They decapitate all the guards.
Yes, of course.
They incapacitate the guards with poison and force, avoiding killing anyone as instructed. Locke wins over the prisoners by promising freedom and a better life aboard the Red Messenger. As they flee, Marion secretly murders several guards to make it look like Locke disobeyed orders, ensuring he stays under Dragos' thumb.
That she does.
Back on the ship, Locke makes a show of stealing it from the Archon's man in front of the crew, cementing his rogue captain persona. Jean notes Locke is starting to enjoy himself. Locke boosts morale, offering the men drinks and camaraderie. That night, Locke and Jean and Caldrus witness eerie flit wraiths gliding over the water. Caldrus warns of stranger dangers in the Ghostwind Isles, especially the haunting tale of Hope of Silver, where 300 settlers vanished, and a crew later found dead in the rigging of their own ship. The crew begins asking about the ship's cats. Locke lies, says that he brought kittens. When it's revealed that it's not the case, Caldrus is livid. He learns Locke entirely forgot that without cats, the men might mutiny or think they are cursed. He advises they steal cats from another ship. Later that night, a storm brews while Locke and Jean drink below deck. Caldrus suddenly collapses, dead from heart failure, or so he think. Locke and Jean are now truly alone, captain and first mate, but without the protection of their so-called teacher in Caldrus.
Mm-hmm. It's a dangerous time for dangerous men.
Under red skies.
And red seas.
A nice little cliffhanger to end on this episode.
Yes. Being out at sea, having to be ship captains, but not actually being captains at all. And not really knowing. They had a month and change of being trained, and now they have to command a ship that's huge, but they aren't really sure how to do it. And the guy that's supposed to actually be the person puppeteering behind them dies, which is just that was great. I like that Lynch killed their go-to guy.
Caldrus.
Yep.
Poor Caldrus. I think he was murdered on purpose. It wasn't heart failure.
You think it was the poison?
The description of his death seems more than a heart attack.
Fair enough. I'd buy that for $1.
I'm selling it for $2.
I don't know about that.
But that's it, folks, for part 2 of Red Seas Under Red Skies. What will happen next time?
Locke and Jean take up knitting.
Yep. Right after a little swim that they have.
Down, no britches required.
No britches.
Another thing that stands out to me as we're kind of going through this again is the emotions that the characters go through remind us that they're human. Like, not everything that Locke does is premeditated. Sometimes he's like, I don't know what to do. And then he goes, oh, I have an epiphany, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or he's like,
yep,
I'm scared and I don't know what to do. I'm going to just try this crazy thing. And then the perception from other people is like he's a hero, or vice versa, which happens later. So that makes the characters like super relatable for us.
Yeah, across the whole story, from the first chapters of Lies of Locke Lamora to chapter 7 here, the characters are all relatable. Little Locke, little Jean, the glimpses we have into their childhood. Father Chains as this mentor to them. Here, where they find themselves without a mentor, without their friends, only 2 guys down from like 7 or something, or around there.
Yeah.
Locke's growth, Jean's growth, and we'll see Jean's growth more in the following chapters. it all makes them relatable, like you said. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff by Lynch.
So my question to the audience is, did you think that the story would be featuring pirates when you first started reading it? Because I didn't the first time I read it. Nor did I think that Lynch would have Jean, and we'll get into this in the next episode or two, go, hey, I'm not actually going to do what Dragos wants because these are our people. Thieves prosper. And it's like, oh yeah, pirates are thieves. So,
Yeah.
just one more thing to think about. Did you think that we were going to have pirates? Yes or no? And why?
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
I have a favor to ask you. If you like what we're doing, the simplest way to support the show is to hit subscribe. In return, we'll keep leveling up, we'll listen to your feedback, and read authors that you suggest. And of course, we'll take side quests along the way. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.